Hey guys, when was the last time you had takeout trauma? Trauma is a strong word for food, but when you're working on your last nerve, it really can break you. But that's a thing of the past because I have Cook Unity. With Cook Unity, you get affordable, restaurant-quality food from award-winning chefs delivered to your door. I ordered both the rainbow chicken and pasta salad with olives and feta and the quinoa and veggie enchiladas, and they were delicious. But why I also love Cook Unity is, dozens of chefs offering a wide variety of cuisines. You can select from over 350 meals or have them pick for you. Browse the menu by protein, chef cuisine, or dietary need. I wish there was a selection that said, I'm 30, surprise me. You're sure to find food you'll love. Menus are updated weekly, and new chefs are always joining the team, so you'll always find new favorites. Avoid the takeout trauma with Cook Unity. Affordable food crafted by award-winning chefs delivered to your door. Go to cookunity.com/BCC or enter code BCC before checkout for 50% off your first week. That's 50% off your first week by using code BCC or going to cookunity.com/BCC.
Welcome to The Chain. We're your hosts, Kendahl. Oh, no, I forgot to say the name of the podcast.
Oh, okay.
This is the BCC Club.
Oh, yeah?
And we're your hosts, Kendahl Andreth and
Sarah Shower. And like Kendahl said, this is the BCC Club, where each week we go down an internet rabbit hole. What hole are we getting into today?
Today we're talking about boy moms.
Boy moms. Not the mothers of boys, people who identify as boy moms.
Oh, yeah. They're a very specific person.
Uh-huh.
Do you feel like, okay, if we're like the most gendered, like if we're picturing boys and girls in like a very 80s way, do you think you'd be a better girl mom or a better boy mom?
I'd be a better girl mom. I think right off the bat, I'd have to learn how to be a boy mom, because the term boy mom does suggest some sort of Freudian attachment to my son. And even the grossness of that aside, I am gay.
So even if we're getting gross, you're like, I guess I'd be
Well, I mean, that
girl
is the
mom.
essence of boy mom. If you're asking me would I rather be the mother of boys or girls, I would say either. But boy mom or girl mom.
Yeah.
Probably girl mom. Because boy mom, I'd have to actually develop some conditions.
Yeah, so boy mom is like, for those of you who don't know, women who are obsessed with their sons in a way that is absolutely terrifying.
Yes.
Often someone who later in life, when their son gets a girlfriend or a boyfriend, is very jealous.
Yes.
And very, I've seen a quote of a mom on the internet. She was like holding her son and she's like, they say parenting a son is the longest breakup you'll ever go through.
Oh my God. See, that's what I mean.
They're perverts for him.
Yeah, it's not, they're not well. And it is, I mean, ultimately something because of the patriarchy but I don't even want we do want to get into it. But before we do, how was your week?
My week was good. Let me just scroll on through my little calendar since my memory truly doesn't exist. I keep trying to see Smile 2 in theaters. Haven't been able to make it over there. Mm-hmm. I've made like 6 AMC reservations to see it, and I keep having to cancel them because I'm too tired. I had so much work this week. I went to BJ's, the chain restaurant, and got a Pizookie.
What?
A Pizookie.
Did you write all this down?
No, this is my calendar.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's a big cookie with ice cream on it.
Yeah.
They also, at BJ's right now, have spooky cocktails.
Okay.
So I got one of those. I mean, just so much work.
Yeah.
So much work. I thought about getting Botox this week. I've never had Botox.
Yeah.
But my partner has to get Botox for their TMJ.
Yeah.
So I always go with. And every time I'm like, should I ask for a little drip of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't do that. I decided against it.
Okay.
And that was one thing you'll think maybe is fun is I got a big Lego set.
Which one?
I got the Hocus Pocus Lego set.
Oh my gosh. Wait, that one is so fun.
Yeah. I'm like so excited because I'm like not, I'm not like a huge Lego person.
Yeah.
But I feel like every time I do them, I'm like, this is so fun.
Yeah.
And so I had some Legos left over that you'd given me.
Yes.
And I'd done a couple of them, but like I hadn't done all of them. And so me and my roommate and my fiance did like a Lego night, and we all had so much fun.
Yes, dude.
So then we were like, we should get like a Halloween themed Lego, and then like watch Halloween movies, and then like put it away, and then every year at Halloween like take it out and do the Lego set again. Which we'll see if that ends up happening, because we'll see if this Hocus Pocus thing might take like 6 days, and then we'll be like, we're never gonna put this away.
It's a very involved set, so I don't know if you would want to disassemble it.
Well, yeah, I have a feeling because it's very detailed. It's like the house, but it's like the inside of the house.
Oh yeah, and there's like a swinging lantern.
Yeah.
And then you get the front gate, and it's so cool.
And there's light up Legos.
Yes.
It's like super cool. So, but it was like sold out everywhere. And then I was like at Target for work and like popped by the Lego section because I've just been like checking in.
Yeah.
And there was one sitting there, and I could like tell it had been returned.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to get it.
Had it been opened?
No, I just like, I'd been at that Target every single day. I go there so much for work. And I checked, and it'd been like sold out. And then there was just one kind of like on its side. Maybe it hadn't been returned, but it was giving returned energy.
Yeah.
And so I quickly bought it. And I feel like I didn't have time to even think about it. And at first I was like, this is crazy because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's almost like $300.
Yes.
But then I was like, maybe I need to reframe, because I spend that much money so quick on like a pair of shoes or like going out to dinner.
Yeah.
And I was like, spending that much for like 6 days of fun,
Yeah.
that feels worth it to me. So anyways, I got that, and I'm excited to do it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love Halloween activities. Like my friends, I have like a couple of lesbian friends that texted me yesterday, and we're in a group chat with Naomi and I, and we were talking about like couples Halloween activities. And I mean like pumpkin carving and all this stuff. But Lego is like another one that we could do that would be fun.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that. You're like, yeah, I know.
No, oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I love a Halloween activity, but I haven't pumpkin carved in a really long time, probably since I was a kid, because I think it's one of those activities that like, it's trying so hard to be fun, but at the end of the day, it's not really fun. You know what I mean? And it's so messy.
Yeah, it's very labor intensive.
I also got one of my favorite things to do on planet Earth is make gingerbread houses.
Yes.
Like, I'm obsessed with it. I don't make the gingerbread, but like getting the prepackaged stuff and then buying like extra candy and extra things to put on it and like really making an insane house.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite. So I got a Halloween gingerbread house from Trader Joe's.
Okay.
And I'm just going to have a spooktastic time. I like themed my books for the month. So I'm reading like 3 spooky books.
Yes.
I'm just having a blast.
That's amazing.
How are you?
Good. Well, I'm good. Well, this morning was heartbreaking. Speaking of Legos.
What?
I have a little Polaroid picture Lego set, and I put it on like a cute display. And I know I shouldn't have done this because of the cats, but they knocked it off.
Oh, no.
And then they also knocked over a picture frame of Naomi and I, and they broke the picture frame. And I know that the Lego set I can rebuild, and I know the picture frame I can't glue back together, but it is heartbreaking because it is my special interest. But there's also a more affordable Halloween Lego set, you guys. It's the Spooky Cat, if you want to get that one.
It's the black cat?
Yes.
I saw that at Target, and it was so cute.
Yeah.
My big Target Lego trip, I saw that.
But also, I was going to say, I did watch Smile as well, because Naomi and I wanted to see Smile too.
No, you just watched Smile 1.
Yeah, we watched the first one so we would understand what's happening in Smile 2. And if you were in Smile 2, Smile, what would you have done? Would you have killed yourself or someone else?
Oh, God, I haven't seen it in so long. So just remind me, it's that if you can transfer it, the curse to someone else. Mm-hmm. How do you do that again?
Well, you have to kill yourself in front of them, and then they watch it, and that trauma, like the demon is like obsessed with your trauma.
But so how could you pass it on to someone else without killing yourself?
You kill someone else. That's how that one
just straight up murder.
Yeah, that's why the one guy who survived the demon, he's in jail because he literally
killed someone else. I would kill like for some reason I'm gonna go to jail for saying this.
Yeah.
I guess I'd kill someone else. I think I would find, this is what I would do. Either I would, first of all, sometimes those movies are so scary that I'm like, I would rather be dead.
Yeah.
Or I just watched an episode of 911 where they're in a plane crash.
Yeah.
And the guy goes into like a shock and then like dies, and then she brings him back to life, but they're still in the plane crash, and he's like, oh my God, you saved me, but they're still crashing. I'm like, I would be so pissed. I'd be like, why did you not just let me die? Like I was fully unconscious, happy as a bird, and now I'm awake during a plane crash. So part of me thinks I would kill myself, but I also think could I find a way to find someone who's already about to die?
Yeah.
And then kill them. But then I would, because in my head, I'm like, well, I could go to like a hospital. This is like terrible.
Yeah.
And like find someone who's like about to die and then like do something to kill them. But then I'm like, I would go to jail for that. So it's like, I might as well just be dead. Not that people in jail might as well be dead, but I personally am like, I don't want to kill someone because that's already trauma. And to be honest, I think if I killed someone, I don't think I could live with myself.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I'd just be dead.
Yeah. I was also trying to work my way through the mechanics of it. I was like, what if this would, I guess, the more ethical way, in a non-ethical way, I would kill myself in front of someone who can't be traumatized. Like, say they were in a coma, like they were not actually literally.
Does that count?
I mean, I'm in front of someone, but they're not they're not actually having the sensory experience of perceiving the trauma.
But then could you just blindfold someone? Or does that also not count? Because then if they can't see it, then what?
Well, they would be very tempted to hear the squelching and the so then my next thing would be kill. The thing is if you kill someone else and you're like, oh, they're a bad person, you know that the bad person is likely hooked up to another bad person, and so like they would pass on the demon quite easily, and then I'd worry about how that spiral out of control. Either way, I'm killing myself somewhere.
That's kind of how I feel. I'm like, whether it's I could see a world where I think of a way to make it work, but then I think I'll end up wanting to be dead anyways. And I also I think the thing that has me hesitant is like death doesn't scare me that bad.
Yeah.
But the way they die and smile is usually really bad.
Yes.
So that scares me. Like the thought of dying I've only seen the trailers for the second one.
Yeah.
But when he like smacks himself with a weight,
yes.
Which first of all, that would not work. I don't know. The weight, it happens.
The weight?
He takes like a weight like at a gym and like smacks his head.
That would kill you.
It smashes his face in a way that I'm like, I don't know. You would have to be so strong to do that.
Yeah.
Like you would have to be Hercules to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. But that is scary to me. Like if I was just like, oh, your life is ending, that doesn't like scare me as bad as like dying a really like long and upsetting and painful death.
Yes.
The one thing I just can't with the Smile one, first of all, I've heard Smile 2 is insane.
Okay.
People are like, it's so scary. Like,
Yeah.
and people who are like, I watch horror movies, this is so scary.
Yes.
So I'm excited. The first one, I just cannot handle in a horror movie when the boyfriend is so stupid.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, it seemed and I haven't seen it in a year and a half, so maybe I'm missing it, or misremembering. But from what I remember, the girl and her boyfriend acted like they never met each other the whole movie. Like she was like, I'm like seeing things. And he was like, girl, it's okay. Like, you're fine. And then you'd be like, I'm going to head to work, okay? Like, it just didn't make sense. And he just like wouldn't listen to her. Am I remembering correctly? And then finally he was like, you're being a lot. I think I might have to break up with you.
Yeah. No, that's the thing is like, like if Naomi, for some reason, one day was like, I'm literally seeing like a demon. The thing is I would go to like some sort of psychological disorder, and then I'd be like, well, this doesn't seem like, I'm sure psychological disorders can appear out of nowhere. But then I know their family, no family history of that to my knowledge.
Well, and they're probably not in the age. It's like if they were 20 to 25.
They are.
Okay.
But the thing is the more reasonable thing is they they go to raves, and so I'm like, maybe you're stuck in a prolonged, and then when they are like, no, trust me, I haven't, but then I'd be like, okay, I love you. You have never exhibited this behavior before, and why not? How do we do
demon chasers?
How do we do this together, you know?
I'm like, at least I would be like, let's go to a doctor.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just be like, hey, I think you've been stressed recently. Let's get Thai food tonight.
Yeah.
Okay? And just not worry about the demon. Let's just like he was so like as if she told him like, hey, I've been a little like stressed recently. Like, that's how he responded to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm like, I'm just like, then don't have a boyfriend in it.
Yeah. No, seriously. But the thing is going to a doctor, it'd have to be a doctor that you can trust. I'd probably go to a social worker.
Well, now let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Santa Clarita Diet?
Yes, I have.
One of my favorite shows. What would you do in that scenario? Naomi comes home and is like, I ate a bad clam.
Uh-huh.
And now I can't survive off of anything but live human flesh.
Yes.
So I need to murder people to live. What would you do?
So, I would be like, we're going to establish some ground rules. No eating me.
No eating me?
We'd have to find some. I mean, I do like their method of approach where they're like, we have to find objectively bad people. And then also the thing is like getting them set up. The thing is if I was, now that I'm thinking about which doctor I would go to, if I was going to go to any doctor, I'd go to a doctor with incredibly low ratings on like any sort of doctor website. Because like the thing is if they have incredibly consistently low ratings, they do have doctor capacity, but they are also probably not going to go any sort of like legal route.
You got to go to a local doctor. You got to go to like, when I was a kid, so I had horrible cystic acne growing up, and I eventually did Accutane.
Okay.
That's why I have genetically flawless skin now, I must say. I had terrible acne, and I went to so many dermatologists.
Yeah.
I tried everything you could ever imagine. I had like a 60-step skincare routine, and then I tried months where I just did water. I mean, I literally tried everything you can imagine. I went dairy-free. I did everything. Last resort, we went to this doctor that was like an hour away, and he's this old man, and he like looked at my skin, and he was like, well, he prescribed me a medication, and he's like, but I also want to try something else. And him and his nurses, and I swear on my life this happened, came into the room and prayed over my skin. And I remember at the time being like, honestly, let's try it. Like, I was so desperate. I was like, I'm not really religious, but I was like, let's see if this works. Like, this feels powerful in some degree. That's the type of doctor you need to go to if you eat human flesh.
Yes. One who's not afraid of dabbling with the spiritual. So, a more holistic doctor, or someone who's not licensed yet, or someone who's seconds away from their license being taken away, because I know, would weigh their professional reputation, and they probably just,
I think they screw it up in the beginning because, there's that really bad police officer who's very corrupt, who starts being like, oh, he's murdering people. Let's team up. So I'll send you people that we've been trying to get for years, and you murder them.
Yeah.
Once again, deeply unethical, of course. But I'm like, if you're in that situation where you're like, I got to eat people to survive, I'm like, you've teamed up with a cop?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you got to do.
Uh-huh.
That's why Dexter is a police officer.
Yeah.
You have to be you got to be on the bad side to know, because they'll, to protect you.
Well, actually, I would just get the Citizen app, and then they have, like, everyone who's a registered sex offender there.
Right. Well, that's what he was like. We've been trying to find the sex offender for, like, 6 years. Can you go kill him? But he was like, no. I'm like, listen, if your wife needs to eat people, you got to figure out a way to do it.
Well, hey guys, when was the last time you had takeout trauma? Trauma is a strong word for food, but when you're working on your last nerve, it really can break you. But that's a thing of the past, because I have Cook Unity. With Cook Unity, you get affordable, restaurant-quality food from award-winning chefs delivered to your door. I ordered both the rainbow chicken and pasta salad with olives and feta and the quinoa and veggie enchiladas, and they were delicious. But why I also love Cook Unity is, dozens of chefs offering a wide variety of cuisines. You can select from over 350 meals or have them pick for you. Browse the menu by protein, chef cuisine, or dietary need. I wish there was a selection that said, I'm 30, surprise me. You're sure to find food you'll love. Menus are updated weekly, and new chefs are always joining the team, so you'll always find new favorites. Avoid the takeout trauma with Cook Unity. Affordable food crafted by award-winning chefs delivered to your door. Go to cookunity.com/BCC or enter code BCC before checkout for 50% off your first week. That's 50% off your first week by using code BCC or going to cookunity.com/BCC.
You know what,
Yeah.
Sarah? Let's talk about boy moms.
Let's talk about boy moms. So we do have an article here from USA Today. You know, what is a boy mom and why is it cringy? The social media term explained. Do you know boy mom? Are you a boy mom? Before you answer, you might want to make sure you're caught up on the most recent internet slang. A recent TikTok posted by a mom influencer has been circulating through the platform in the past week, drawing criticism and reigniting the controversy around boy moms. The since-deleted video featured a content creator who often shares videos of and centered around her children, discussing the difference between her feelings for her young daughter and son. In it, she says that though she is, quote, obsessed with her and loves her daughter, her son has, quote, has her heart and soul because it's, quote, her whole life and she wanted to be a boy mom, and that her fellow, quote, boy moms will understand what she's saying.
It's actually so sad because I know so many people growing up. Like, I had many friends. I knew people who they were a daughter and their brother was just like adored by the parents, and it was their life completely circulated around the fact that they were not their brother and that they were not as good as their brother. Like, I even knew someone who it's like their son wanted to do football, so the parents were like, you need to be a cheerleader. So she like did cheer, but she like didn't even like cheer, but she was just like, I have to because I have to like cheer on my brother. Like, it's so sad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, other TikTok users were quick to respond, saying the post was inappropriate, could be hurtful to her daughter if she ever stumbled across it, as it appears to make clear that one child is a favorite based upon their gender. While this stirred up the controversy of boy moms. So what is a boy mom? A boy mom is something of a negative character archetype oft recognized on the internet. The term itself is slang to refer to a specific kind of parent who is perceived as being overly fixated on their male children, often to the detriment of other female children or people in their lives. A mother may be called a, quote, boy mom if she talks about or displays signs of favoring her male children over her female children, expresses a distaste for girl children, and enthusiasm for boys based solely on gender, speaks about her son in a way that viewers perceive as being almost romantic, hyperfixates on her male child's gender and all things, quote, boy, or if she gives special treatment to her sons through coddling and obvious favoritism. So I do want to make the distinction that we did make in the beginning that if you're the parent of a boy, we're not saying that you are falling in this category. It's the specific title of boy mom.
Yeah, you're allowed to love your son. It's okay.
You're allowed to be absolutely obsessed with your children. It's the fact that if you are obsessed with your child because he is a boy and he's being put on a pedestal in that way, especially to the detriment of your other children, this is where boy mom comes into play.
Well, and I also think there's a less perverted but still annoying version of boy mom. To me, in my head, I'm like, there's the boy mom who's like in love with her son. Crazy. But there's also this category of boy moms that are very much like, unless you're a boy mom, you don't get it. Like, being a boy mom, like my house, it's like raising rabid raccoons. Like, no one understands unless you have boys, you don't get it. And it's just like, it's so wild because growing up, boys in my class were a bit nuts. And I felt like the girls were much more mature.
Yeah.
And now I have had many friends who've had children, boys and girls. And I feel like because they don't raise them to be like boys, they're just all the same. Like I have so many friends who have daughters and sons, and they're just all the same. They're all like sweet and nice and well-behaved and normal.
Yeah.
And then ever so often, I also have had friends who have kind of insane kids, and it's across the gender spectrum. There's boys and girls that are nuts. So it's just, I feel like, so they have this like camaraderie, like the moms of boys, where they're like, is there mud all over my house? I'm a boy mom. Yeah. Which is also, like, they think they have a harder job than being a girl mom. Mm-hmm. And they feel like camaraderie in that, which I find annoying.
Or they feel like raising boys is easier because girls have emotions, I guess, that are more fluctuating. But the thing is like raising a boy is not easier. You're neglecting him. And women do, I guess it's easier to neglect someone than it is to raise them. So I guess.
Well, there's so many things like that. Like, it's like, if you have a daughter, in the most traditional sense, if your daughter has long hair, which I feel like a lot of girls that age do, you have to like do their hair. And like if your kid comes to school every day with like their hair not done or like just hasn't been brushed, like anything, like that is a problem. And people will be like, oh, you're neglecting your kid. But with boys, it's kind of like, oh, their hair's cut short, so no one can know if they've showered in 8 days. And boys are just gross. So like, yeah, this child has never showered and they don't brush his hair, but nobody can notice because he's a boy.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is bizarre.
Mm-hmm. As the internet will quickly tell you, every mom who happens to have male children is not a, quote, boy mom. A mom of boys is a neutral identifier, like we said, while a certified boy mom is a mom who displays certain kinds of behaviors or subscribes to certain ideals. While the term has become popular across social media platforms, it is most often discussed on TikTok, where people often make skits and parodies pantomiming the stereotypical caricature of a boy mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and these often cover themes like moms being overprotective and coddling their sons, deciding they can do no wrong even when they're grown adults, moms who treat their sons like their romantic partners, acting as if they're in competition with daughter-in-laws, and future dates, or referring to their sons growing up and leaving home as, quote, breakups.
There's a really funny sketch that was originally on TikTok, and then the person who made it on TikTok, I think their name is Kira Sullivan, became a writer at SNL, so now you can watch it on SNL.
Yes.
But it's it's such a funny sketch of this. It's like a boy mom who's just like, my daughter said, like, my son is stealing money from my purse. I'm like, okay, what's wrong with that? She's so rude to him. Like, he's obviously doing bad stuff. Or she'll be like, my daughter was like, Mom, like, Eric is hitting, like, he totaled your car. And I'm like, okay, why are you talking shit about your brother? Like, of course he totaled the car. Like, she's just obsessed. Like, no matter how bad what the son did, she's, like, obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And hates her children. And hates her daughter. She's like, oh, my daughter's such a bitch. I love my son. I love my son. It's, like, so funny.
It was originally not a negative one like girl dad. It was used by parents to refer to an experience of having a child of a different gender of their own.
Contrary to popular belief, there is no scientific evidence to support the notion that girls are more nurturing and boys are more physically inclined. As stated in a Scientific American article from 2016, clearly boys and girls are not the same at birth. However, we now understand that early experiences permanently change the chemistry and function of the genes with cells, which has made a big impact on behavior. Let me read that again because I don't really understand it. However, we now understand that early experiences permanently change the chemistry and function of the genes within cells, which has made a big impact on behavior. The way that parents raise males and girls differently may also have an impact on how children's brains grow. And I think, honestly, it's so many little things building on top of one another because it's like, I don't think that, I think my parents did like a bizarrely good job for the time of like not raising me much different from a boy. I feel like it was really important to my mom, very ahead of her time. But I felt like she, they weren't calling me princess. I got to do whatever I wanted. I did sports, I did girly, quote unquote, things. I did all of the above. But there's even little things that I think probably, okay, this is a segment we call Kendahl Talks About Science that she doesn't know about. So gear up, buckle up. But I'm like, even like when I would go to church on Sundays, I would put on tights, high heels.
Yeah.
I would have to put on a dress. I would have to learn how to not sit in my dress. All these things, even just like sitting and putting on tights is like, even as an adult, I'm like, that's a real bitch.
Yes.
I would have to sit in a chair and wait patiently. This pre-iPad, so I just sat there while my mom braided my hair.
Yeah.
And all of these things, boys just don't do traditionally. You know what I mean? And like, even if I had a son, me, Kendahl, if I had a daughter who didn't have long hair, they wouldn't sit and have me do their hair for very long because it would take 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think all those things adding up just like makes girls' brain. I mean, even like in Super Nanny, they talk about how she's like, yeah, well, some kids have ADHD 100%, but also you have to teach patience. You have to teach focus. Like you have to teach, like when you sit and play a card game with your kid, they're learning focus. They're learning how to wait their turn. Like all of that is taught. And I think girls are just like taught that in so many different ways, even if you're not trying to like gender your kid a bunch.
Yeah.
Just like sitting and getting dressed in the morning alone teaches so much patience, and you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I spent so much time growing up sitting in a chair and having my mom braid my hair, and like boys in my class didn't do that.
No.
And you sit and you wait and you have to be still and you have to listen and you have to listen, like, and you have to not move a bunch and you have to do it. And I think it like really, I think things like that over time like really add up.
They do, yeah. Because boys still like have this. I mean, even men still have this almost childlike sense of wonder. I mean, it could be a emotional stuntedness, but like you, it's not weird to see boys like who are men who are like 30 or something playing in a park. When's the last time you saw some women just literally playing in a park?
Yeah.
It's because like there's something like that's kept alive in them. That's I feel like a lot of people are socialized as women. You're like bogged down by like all the things, how you're supposed to sit and how you're supposed to look, and like you're not supposed to take up space, and that's like literal space. You can't be loud. It's just you're supposed to be so tightly restricted that
And I know for me, and this is what I'm about to say sounds like I'm being not a girl's girl. I'm being a pick-me, but it really isn't. I had a lot of friends who were boys when I was growing up. I also had a lot of friends who were girls.
Yes.
But I feel like I had equal friends who were boys and girls. And I noticed a difference because for me, I felt like I was 14 and still wanted to like play outside and like play pretend. And I remember when I was 13, the Hunger Games was really big and I like wanted to play Hunger Games, which is sick in the head, but I did. And all my friends who were girls were not into that anymore. Like they were texting, they had boyfriends, they wanted to gossip. Like we would have nights where we like all sat, played Truth or Dare and like all that type of stuff. And when I would go hang out with my friends who were boys, we're 15 years old. We are still outside.
Yeah.
Like doing same stuff we were doing when we were 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is a huge bummer because I think they're just like they are allowed that. It doesn't seem childish. It doesn't seem, to them, it seems like it so easily transfers into adulthood for them.
Yes.
Because men are like, oh, well, men going outside and hunting and building and doing all that stuff is so normal. And I feel like that's what we did when we were kids. You know what I mean? Not hunting. I wasn't a hunter, to be clear.
Oh, no. I used to think, I mean, I don't know if this is the lesbianism or the autism really, but I have a distinct memory of 2 of my best friends from like very early in middle school. They were girls. They started to like go through puberty and like be like, and I was going through puberty too, but like they liked boys a lot, but they were like obsessed with boys. And I could just feel like, I literally felt that it was like a moment of disconnect. And then like I did unfortunately hang out with boys more, but it's not because I was a tomboy. It's because the boys didn't talk about.
I think that's a lesbian because I think that's case a lesbian.
I think that's a lesbian.
Because I felt like I was just like not interested. It's like and looking back, it's like if we were playing Truth or Dare and they were like, call this girl who's also gay and like tell her that you like her, I would be like obsessed with playing Truth or Dare. You know what I mean? Like if we were playing Spin the Bottle and it was a bunch of lesbians, I'd be like, let's go. But I think it was a weird transition where like everyone suddenly seems really interested in male attention and I just simply don't care at all. Not because I'm better than anyone, but because I don't like men. I just felt like very confused. But I think boys, like the boys at my school, even though they were interested in girls, it was like they were allowed to not care. Like it just, the way our society is set up, it was like, well, girls had to sit all night and like talk about it.
Yeah.
Because they needed to. And the boys in my class, it was just like, they were still just, it just didn't matter. Like they didn't have to care about anything.
Yeah.
Which was really freeing and wonderful.
Well, actually, I think so. That may be our neurodivergency, actually, because I don't know about us so much. But like the thing is I have a hard time with emotions, and so like that's why I thought I was a sociopath for the longest time. But like boys don't really get into emotions. Like when girls go over stuff, and this is what I love about women now, is like, they talk about like emotion, like feelings and stuff like that. In my household, your feelings didn't matter. Like this is gonna sound crazy. I did not know I was allowed to feel anything.
Yeah.
Like other than love for God and respect for my parents. Like, so like,
The feeling of respect is a good one.
My autism and my parents made me hang out with boys. And then the lesbianism, I was like, I felt disconnected. And then these guys are actually themselves disconnected because they're not talking about their feelings.
Well, and it's just simple. I mean, I remember like there was so much fighting with this makes me sound like the biggest pick-me. I'm literally being like, the girl, but I don't think it was anyone's, I think it's like I think it is like a conversation that makes sense. It's like, I think there's so much like, boys were just allowed to do that. It was just like free to do that. And so they were able to like lean into that. But I even feel like, because I growing up, I'm better now through a lot of therapy, but I had a really tough time with emotions growing up to where my mom was like concerned for me because like something really bad would happen.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, someone I was close to would die. And I would be like, she would like sit me down to tell me in a really serious way. And I would be like, okay, girl, like it's fine. Let me get out of here. Like it's like I just had no ability to feel.
Yeah.
I would feel a lot, but I just like could not express it.
Yeah.
And as an adult, even I try my best, but when someone is upset, I have a tough time. I have to really be like, this is what you do when someone is upset. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I have a little bit of a tough time with it. I just get very uncomfortable. And I'm much better now, but especially as a kid. And I think when I was younger, it was just easier because when boys are crying, like I remember one time my friend Simon growing up, or it was Jonathan, one of them was on like their parents' elliptical machine.
Yeah.
And was like doing something crazy on it. And then they tripped. This is so gross. So trigger warning if you're squeamish. Their leg got like sliced by the elliptical.
Yeah.
And like probably wasn't as bad as I remember it, but I remember it being like something out of a war movie. Like it was so gross. And so of course he's like screaming and crying. And I remember feeling so able to comfort him because I was like, I know it. This is crazy. Like there's nothing complicated about this. Like your leg is sliced open and it hurts really bad. And so I can be like, I know this hurts, but it's gonna be okay. And it felt so natural versus I think things that were more intricate and advanced and based in something so deep. I mean, I feel like in middle school, being a girl, in my experience, was like, it felt like I already had all these advanced feelings that I already feel now, but I didn't understand any of them.
Yeah.
So I would get like really mad and like scream at one of my friends or be like, you're so stupid. And like we get into a big fight. And then looking back, I'm like, oh, I was like feeling a lot of upset feelings about this in my family. And it was like also advanced, but I had absolutely no idea what was happening. Versus I just felt like that wasn't brought into the boy relationships in my life.
Yeah.
Because they were probably stunted from, I think they're probably feeling that about now, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's just wild how, but I do think, like, even like growing up, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, boys' handwriting was so bad and girls' handwriting was good.
Yes.
Like, obviously that is not 100% true, but across the board in my class, it was like girls had better handwriting than boys. And to this day, I am never not amazed by watching a man write something. I'm like, why does your handwriting look like that? Like, you're an adult. Like, why does your handwriting look like that? And I'm like, well, boys, I mean, I like learned how to tie my shoe. I was always sitting and coloring. I would like, you know, learn to do I would braid my doll's hair. Like, all of those are like fine motor skills that then when I got to first grade, I was able to write my name really well because I had like finger muscles.
Yes.
Versus like how we kind of talked about in the like What's Wrong with Men episode. I don't remember what it was called, but that's what I'm renaming it.
Yeah.
When they did the like have your boyfriend clean up a thing of ketchup.
Yeah.
And it was like they couldn't wipe with a paper towel correctly. And you're like, what are these fine motor skills? Like, I don't understand. Something deep and dark is going on. But I think there's like all these skills that girls are expected to have that are literally just like fine motor skill practicing.
Yeah.
That I think now that we're seeing people like treat their sons and daughters the same, it's like, oh yeah, boys have good handwriting because they can tie their shoe.
Yeah.
And like boys have good handwriting because they like brush their teeth and like, you know what I mean? They're not like girly, like coloring is girly. It's like, it's like what?
Yeah. No, exactly. Like if you have to do like care tasks and like just maintenance stuff, you're going to have more dexterity, fine motor skills. I mean, besides like guys love video games, but I imagine they actually do have more fine motor skills than most men. I don't know.
But then I'm like, also, you know, people are like, well, men are stronger. And I'm sure we could look up science on this. I'm sure maybe they are. I have no idea. But I'm like, well, while I was sitting inside playing teacher as a kid, you know, I had friends who were boys who were like climbing trees all day.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that has to stick with your body. I mean,
yes.
I know people still who like they were dancers from like age 3 until high school.
Yeah.
They still are like, yeah, I have a dancer's body. Like I can't, no matter what I do, like my body will always look like this because my muscles are just this way. Or like I have friends who are swimmers and their shoulders are like, doesn't matter what I do, my shoulders will always look like this because I just have this muscle that's so ingrained in me. I'm like, we're training boys like they're going into the Hunger Games reference over 2. And girls just aren't always doing that. And so I think it's just like, we will see. I think kids now, it's going to be more like the same where people are like, oh, they're all bad now.
Yeah.
Because
all the kids are, I think
it's not going to go there all good. I think it's going to be like, oh, now all the girls are also bad now too.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, overcorrecting, and now the boys can do makeup, which is actually a good thing, and then the girls climb trees. But that's actually not an overcorrection. I'm saying that, actually, you know what?
It'll just be mixed.
Yes.
It'll just be a mixed situation.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, people who are identifying like this boy mom, they're living in a place where it is the same as when I was a child. There's no like...
Yeah.
That's what's hard for me to remember is that, like, in some states, we're in the 2000s, early 2000s. I saw a video the other day. I'm not getting too many details, but it was a TikTok that showed up of a little girl who was in a tumbling routine with her cheer squad in, like, the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And the outfits they were wearing for Thanksgiving were very upsetting, is what I will say. And I told my partner, I was like, it's wild that, like, a full community of people, like, because, like, when I was a kid, we did that. Like, for Thanksgiving, we would dress up as, like, Native American people and pilgrims, and we would have a lunch. And of course, I didn't think anything of it because I was 5 years old. But, like, parents didn't really think much of it because they were all white and didn't really think about it. But to still feel that way, to have a full community that all dressed their kids up like that in 2024, and no one was like, hey, this feels weird, right, you guys? It's just so interesting how... some places are so behind.
Yes.
So I feel like these boy moms now are they're still raising that's part of the problem. They're raising their sons in the same way.
Yes.
As they used to.
Exactly. So talks about boy moms frequently focus on the negative effects of misogyny, emotional incest, and inappropriate emotional attachment. Boy mom culture has the potential to poison families and create an unsettling relationship between mothers, adult sons, and their spouses. Social media posts centering on boy moms romanticize family dynamics and cast sons in unsuitable roles. Certain features of boy mom culture, such as calling sons boyfriends or implying that growing up is like being broken up with, cast sons in the role of a romantic partner rather than a child. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that mothers who have this kind of attachment with their sons eventually start to consider the wife of their son as the, quote, enemy and the, quote, other woman who is trying to steal her man. But so what we really want to talk about, I mean, with boy moms is the emotional incest, the inappropriate emotional attachment. And this is not to say that girl dads have a different dynamic. And we have actually ripped on men who are like, oh my God, women are people now that they have daughters.
Crazy.
That's more of like a transformation within them. This is another.
Well, I think they're very different because to me, a girl dad comes from, first of all, people feeling like dads are very absent. Mm-hmm. So a girl dad is like a more involved dad. It's also a dad who has who has learned things about women, which is annoying because you should already know things about women since you've lived on Earth with 50% of people being women.
Yeah.
But it's like a dad who is dived into the interests of women's and tried to like be an equal parent kind. I don't know, just a guy who loves his daughter. I don't know, which feels a little more like we're going in a better direction because I think the past was like men desperately wanted sons. Yeah. And then when it was a girl, they were like, fuck.
Yes.
And so it's versus the girl mom only is going in bad directions. It's like, boys don't need any more attention.
Yes.
They already are good and you are obsessed with the thing that's already been planted in our society. Like you're obsessed with having a boy, which is like already a misogynistic thing that exists in our society versus like a dad. And it can obviously get weird just like anything. And I think, when you have a dad who's like, oh, shoot, whoever your first boyfriend is, like, that's too much.
That's actually,
But I think we're at least, girl dads are kind of like a dad who's been like, I got all girls and I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. It's like the different, you were talking about like, people stuck in a time gone by. Like, boy moms are an unhealthy family dynamic. Like girl dads are more healthy family dynamic in that it's like, I have a lot of daughters and now I'm a big tatted man who wears like makeup.
That's what I was picturing too.
Yes.
That's so interesting.
It's a more progressive thing because they're celebrating their girls rather than just seeing, oh, I don't have any boys.
Right. But, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
But then the emotional incest part of the boy mom thing is that like, she's like, oh, Because she's like weirdly attached to her son, and maybe like her husband is absent, or he's like she's never been married, so she wants like a more stable quote man in her life, and the boy is the person there, and so then it becomes this unhealthy emotional attachment.
Yeah, I've also heard though. I have heard discourse about sons who have been like, I grew up with one sister, and it was hell for my brothers and I because it was like a similar, where it was like she was everything, she was perfect, we got in trouble constantly for stuff we didn't do, she got all this attention and we like didn't get stuff. And I was thinking about it, I was like, is that the same thing? And I was like, I think it feels different to me because that feels like your parents suck, which like that sucks.
Yeah.
Your parents suck versus like, but when you go to school, you are still at a higher advantage than the girls in your class.
Yes.
Like, you still have more opportunity than the girls in your class. And then at home, your parents are a piece of shit. And, like, that sucks. And, like, that is traumatizing in its own way. But I think boys raised by boy moms who then live and exist in a world that is pro-boy, that just creates, like, a very scary person.
Yes.
Versus, like, if you're out in the world and you're Superman and can do whatever you want, and then you come home and are a bit humbled because your parents are abusive to you, which literally, I'm not going to call abuse humbling, but you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, yeah, my parents treat me like shit because I'm a boy.
Yeah.
It's not as, like, double hitting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still very traumatizing, upsetting, but it feels more specific. Like, your family, like, your parents are being bad versus, like, a culture of people, like, a culture that is accepted, which is being a boy mom.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's different types of abuse, and like they're all abuse, but they're like like they can be different. Emotional incest, the incest part is doing the heavy lifting. Like emotional neglect is doing the heavy lifting. Neglect and incest are not inherently the same thing, but both are incredibly valid. Like if your parents are emotionally neglecting you and there is a gender aspect to it, they're prioritizing your sister over you and your brothers, that it sucks, and that's your parents suck, but there's a large systemic issue backing up the boy mom thing, and then the incest part is very different from neglect.
So weird. So weird. It's so perverted. I just like can't even like imagine a difference between my I just like the thought, and there's parents who do this, take gender out of it, who have a favorite kid.
Yes.
Before they're even born. It's like, it's just like bizarre. Like some people, it's like their firstborn. It's like, well, that's my firstborn. It's just so weird. Because to me, even I'm like, I have not had a kid. So I don't know what it feels like to have a kid come out of me. But to me, it's like, even if I was babysitting 2 kids, I immediately am like, I'm in charge of these 2 kids.
Yeah.
Generally on the same playing field. I love them equally, even though I've just met them. Versus, like, I'm like, as a parent, I'm like, how can you not love your kids equally? It just feels so wild to me.
Yeah.
And then when they're adults, I get not loving your kids equally as adults. To me, I'm like, I get that.
Yeah.
If your kid grows up and is a real piece of work, I get being like, yeah, I like this one better because she's nice to me and is normal. And then this one's insane and rude. Maybe loving them differently is weird, but I get being like, I like them differently. But as kid, how can you not take ownership of any behavior your child does? To me, if like one of my kids was a bitch, I'd be like, that's on me. I love them equally because I did something bad here.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, we need to talk about Kevin's situation.
Yes.
And then what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm. We actually could make a part 2 because this one is a bit long, but we could, we don't have to do that today, but we could do a part 2 if you wanted to.
Part 2.
So we are realizing that this one has gone a bit long, and that is actually my fault. But we're going to make a part 2 to boy moms to get more into the stories of the emotional incest and stuff like that. Again, if you have a son, we are not saying that this is you. If you love him, you're obsessed. I totally get that. The emotional incest is really the thing that's doing the heavy lifting here. But do you have any more final thoughts on?
Well, we'll get into it in part 2.
We will.
So thank you so much for being here. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Happy Wednesday. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you get your podcasts, make sure to rate and review us. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for being here, and happy Wednesday. We'll see you next week.